Shadow War Omega issue 1. Joshua Williamson and Joshua Williamson's writing. Steven Segovia and Howard Porter on the art.
Mhm.
My grammar was slightly different the way I wrote that down, which is why I confused who the artist and
Stream
writers
of consciousness.
Yeah. So, I mean, you were here to talk about the reveal from the last issue, so I suppose you're going to want to say something about Geoforce before we dive in.
So, I remember talking about during the Bendis stuff during Leviathan, and where's Prince Brian? Where's he been? And then so for him to be the one that is getting revenge on Talia and the All Ghouls in just kind of the world in general, I love that execution. I love making him not necessarily the villain because he's justified in his actions, right? But yeah.
Well, I don't know if he's justified to assassinate someone and like pin it on someone else and start a war. I don't know if he's justified in that. But...
I mean, when you're talking about Deathstroke in Ra's al Ghul, right? And now like, Geoforce is this character that's kind of been shuffled about and really haven't seen him. Like he has ties to Batman and the Outsiders, and you have the whole Judas contract stuff with his younger sister. So again, this is just I feel this is Williamson, playing with continuity, making all that line up in a way that I appreciate. I don't know how other people might feel. It seemed to be pretty positive last week, the reactions I was seeing. But yeah, and also it's turned him into a premier almost badass, right? Because this is a guy now that took out Ra's al Ghul and, as it appeared, took out Slade. Because I was like, oh, his healing factor. And then we get, as this book goes on, Slade doesn't show back up. And you're like, oh man, so I guess he really did it, which...
wasn't Talia the one who killed Slade?
Oh, yes, Talia was the one.
Yeah, it was Talia.
Shoot. Well, Brian was taking credit for it in this one. Because he said I'm responsible for the death of Slade Wilson. So, but as we had seen from Dark Crisis, like we knew Slade was going to pull through. So I was like, oh, his healing factor, right? We always hear about the Deathstroke healing factor and stuff. So, but no, I think Shadow War stuck its landing. How'd you feel?
I liked the reveal. It was a fun character to pull out. And then here, like, I enjoy him making the big rock person to
Monster,
like fight, to fight the heroes, and he's monologuing or whatever. Like, I was having fun with that. I like the opening where it kind of cuts back to like Markovia just being decimated because Leviathan's falling out the sky and all the rest of it. So I appreciated it pulled on recent continuity, even if it was a book that I kind of opted out of.
Yeah, but like, and I know this is always the argument against continuity about stuff mattering, right? But when you read everything kind of like we do, it feels nice when there is at least a little amount of payoff.
Oh no, I like some payoff. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining about that. Like I was like, nothing that happened here, because all you really need to know about that story, and I got a good chunk of it because I read the first Leviathan and I read bits of
Leviathan Strikes.
Yeah, whatever
that was.
Event Leviathan. It was like Event Leviathan and something. Leviathan.
Anyways.
Checkmate. Whatever those minis were goddamn called. But the broad stroke of it just being like Markovia was involved, and Leviathan was hiding over Markovia. Like, that's really all you need to know, and then it all went tits up. Like that's basically all you need.
Well, and the fact that that Spectre got into Markovia and kind of took advantage of their corruption, right? Which Brian kind of took personally as well. So I do like his motivations for all of this. It's kind of like his fragile understanding of his own country was also broken, and it kind of revealed the truth. And he only can, he can't blame himself, right? He's part of the royal family. So he has to blame Talia for Leviathan, for creating Leviathan and letting Spectre take it over. So I did like how layered all of that was with him.
Yeah, so we get a small payoff to that Black Canary story in that really otherwise terrible one shot.
Still really nothing. That was superfluous at best,
Yeah, I mean, like the Black Canary story was alright, and then the rest of it just felt like needless. And then there was a mention in the main book, or one of these main issues a few issues ago. The Black Canary was invited and turned Angel Breaker down, and that was probably enough to like just like set up the fact that she was going to come swooping in the Batwing and pick them up here.
Yeah.
They do have a crash landing though, and we get the big rock monster, which was a great 2-page spread. It was a nice big thing. And that's the sort of thing where it took me a second to realize, like, wait, who's this that showed up? And I went, oh no, it's just made out of rock. It's just Geo-Force doing this. So big fun fight scene. You get Batman jumping in, saving Robin. Talia saves Batman at one point. So there's all these little like moments of like, oh, you care about me, father. Oh, and like Talia's like, I just don't want my son to lose anyone else, and just little bits like that. All the different little motivations for saving each other. I think the big thing here though is Damian making his grand speech as he's going to fight Geo-Force, and the big full page spread of heroes don't kill. Given, and we've not even read most of the Damian stuff for the last, obviously we've read Robin, but before that, when he was doing all these weird Teen Titans stuff where he was going a bit darker and he was imprisoning villains, we weren't really reading that, but it's so core to Damian's character that he was trained to be a killer first, and then Batman had to kind of teach him out of that. When that was kind of a lot of Damian's early stories. So it does feel kind of uplifting and show how much he's grown. And admittedly, in the real world, it's been like, it's been 13, 14 years at this point, something like that. But in comics, it's been like 3 years in universe.
Yeah, to me, he came in like he was like 10, 11, and now he's 14, 15-ish, so...
Well, they just turned 13 in Rebirth. Was that not a thing?
Is that what it was? I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure there's a panel in the Rebirth one shot where he's got a cake that says 13 on it.
Well, sure. So, but him also announcing that heroes don't kill, but like, is Robin, does he consider himself a hero? Right? Because he went through that whole death tournament, and,
I think he does. I think that's the point, is he does now. Like, he's had this arc, and this is the payoff to everything he's been going through. Over the past couple of years. So that's very much the point. So Talia does try to kill Geo-Force, and Damian has to go in and talk her down, and Batman's going to intervene, and he says, no, trust me, she's my family, let me do this. So Batman trusts him, and that's a nice little payoff as well for like rebuilding their relationship. So yeah, but he does convince her to throw the blade down, and she does knock him out because Geo-Force tries to attack them after. But so there's a lot of nice little family stuff between Batman and Damian and Talia in the issue, which was appreciated. Geo-Force gets locked up and sent to Belle Reve, as you may expect. And the end of the story, after a little heart to heart, and Batman like, you going to tell me about this tournament or this new girlfriend you've got? Oracle?
I did love that because that's Bruce. Even though he has 4 sons, Bruce is still an awkward dad.
Always, yeah.
And I love that keeps going. He hasn't learned. He hasn't learned from Dick or Tim or even Jason. He's just gonna come out about it.
Yeah. So Oracle puts in a call saying there's some stuff happening. I think it's like Firefly and Killer Moth. She says, and she's like, "Hey, do you want me to call in Nightwing or the Batgirls?" And Batman's like, "No, this one calls for," and you get a big 2-page spread at the end of the story saying Batman and Robin. And I think what stuck out to me is that obviously this is a very normal thing to have a page where it's like, this is a job for Batman and Robin, and you have Batman and Robin like swooping in with the big, the moon behind them and the skyscrapers and whatnot. I think this felt really nice because we legitimately haven't had a Batman and Robin moment in several years.
Yeah, since Alfred died, right? Yeah,
but even before that, they were separate, right? There was no Batman and Robin book, not since New 52. And there's not been, they weren't really interacting much.
Yeah, no, that's true, because I'm thinking through Detective. He wasn't really there.
Yeah, and even though Tim was technically still Robin and he was in Detective, that never really felt like a Batman and Robin pairing, because it was always the team. It was always...
Yeah, because, I'm just saying with Batman and Damian as Batman and Robin, or Bruce, I should say, Damian, yeah, I can't think of anything, because even then, since Damian showed up, I don't think of Tim as Robin. Even though they're both Robin, you know what I mean? When I think of Batman and Robin, it's Damian first. So yeah, I'm trying to think back, and I can't think of any. So yeah, no, so that was a really good moment because this is the first we're really getting this in a very long time.
It felt nice. It felt like a nice like throwback moment because we haven't had it in a while. And it says to be continued in Robin 15, which is interesting. And Williamson also announced just this past couple of weeks that he's going to be done with Robin after I say issue 18, but
yeah,
I could be wrong in the number, but it's about that
17 or 18, I think.
So he's basically got a few issues of Robin left to kind of like wrap up his Damien arc and what he wants to say about Damien to wrap off. Whether or not that means the book's ending or if they're putting a new team on it, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Williamson did promise though that he has something big up his sleeve. So if like he's still writing Robin, maybe it transitions to Teen Titans. Maybe I don't know.
Possibly, but obviously he's doing the event. He's got tie-ins. No doubt he's got other big stuff that he's got in the pipeline with DC. So it makes sense that maybe he's not going to have much time for the Robin books to eternally keep going. There's an epilogue as well with the Slade's group from Deathstroke. What are they called?
Well, it's Deathstroke Inc., but the Secret Society.
Secret Society. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. They take him to a Lazarus pit, which is probably the most obvious outcome for all this. Yep. And they dump him in, but all the reactions as he's coming out are kind of horrified. And the Lazarus, it's like black. The Lazarus pit goes from green to black. It's like it emanates from his body. And then he comes out like he's covered in oil and says that they've got a contract to finish. We're going to kill everyone. And it says to be continued in Dark Crisis issue 1. So this is going to be one of the plot threads related to Dark Crisis, is that we've got some sort of weird... I don't want to say... I was going to say zombie Deathstroke. Not quite zombie, but you know what I mean. Like,
yeah, I like that they point out, they go, how come it didn't heal his eye?
Yes.
Right? So we know that the Lazarus didn't work exactly.
Well, it's like it's corrupted, or he corrupted it, or something. Like something's went on here.
But we knew when Roz was making that, announcement that there is something up with the Lazarus pit. So maybe this was the great darkness infecting the Lazarus pits.
Oh, possibly. Right? Yeah, maybe it's going to tie into Dark Crisis specifically. Yeah.
And that, this is why he was gonna, because he didn't want to be part of that. Because at the end of the day, Ra's al Ghul has let's not say noble, but he is trying to preserve the Earth, right? So the darkness wouldn't appeal to him. So if he felt like the Lazarus pits were infected by that, he wouldn't, want to engage. But yeah, no, Slade, that was definitely like, I was like, oh, okay, his out is the Lazarus pit. He's going to come back and he's going to be a maniac. And because that's how we know that the Lazarus madness, right? But to get the opposite, that he comes out and he has like this cool, dark, demeanor.
I don't know if I'd get cool, dark. Like, he still seems like he might be completely crazy. I mean, we're going to kill everyone sounds like a crazy statement to say. Right,
but he's not like, he doesn't got the wild eye, right? That we see like when Roz comes out, it's a difference. That's when I say cool, I mean cold. Like, he's just like, yeah, we're going to kill everybody.
Okay. I'm still getting unhinged though, so I don't know if I'm necessarily going with that. I think...
You can be cold and unhinged, right? Like...
You can be, yes. Yeah. But you said cool first, which that's different.
Yeah, when I mean cool, I meant like cold, like a cold demeanor. Like it's not like the maniacal, like we've seen Roz come out with the raving madness of the Lazarus
I do
pit.
think the speculation that this is tied to Dark Crisis, I mean, obviously it says it's going to be continued there, but the fact that there's stuff for Dark Crisis been seeded in what's happened in the Lazarus pit is not a ridiculous idea, because Williamson's the one writing both books, so it makes sense that he would actually try and put in some seeds in this. It's especially since he's pulling on continuity here from like Checkmate and Event Leviathan, which, by and large, no one needed to do that, but he wanted to incorporate it.
And that's why I appreciate Williamson, right? And is that he pulled from there and he made the story come together and work. So that's why, like, the whole Shadow War thing, sticking the landing, not that he made it more elaborate, but adding, making the fake Deathstroke that was popping up in Justice League, making that Brian of Markovia, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like this final issue. I think the art is from Segovia in particular. I think it's quite good. The epilogue's the part that's done by Howard Porter, and it looks like Howard Porter. I think Howard Porter is fine for certain things. I will say it's a very big shift because it doesn't look anything like the art that came in the rest of the book.
No, Segovia's is very clean and smooth, and
Yeah.
Porter's is very thick, dark lines, and it's very angular. So it is almost like two opposing styles, which I guess kind of works because it kind of shakes you out from Segovia's stuff.
I mean, it works in the sense that it is supposed to be crazier at the end because it's the corrupted Lazarus pit and Deathstroke's looking all weird and good, whatever. But it is a bit of a shift. But I did like the Segovia art more so, I would say. I think it had more big moments. I think the full page spreads that it had, whether it was the final Batman Robin page, whether it was the rock monster from Geoforce, or even at the start when you see Markovia just like being decimated with explosions and rubble and stuff, and that looked quite good.
Yeah, I like the single page too of the Heroes Don't Kill with Robin delivering the knockout punch. I like that.
Yeah,
that
actually,
really nice.
one detail that made me roll my eyes, I was like, Geoforce, you're an idiot. Because at one point he tries to argue with Batman. I was like, Batman, you telling me you wouldn't try and like get, and kill someone if they decimated Gotham? And I'm like, no, Geoforce, Batman's thing, no matter how bad someone does something, he's pretty adamant about the killing.
That's called a Thursday in Gotham if someone decimates the city. And Batman's never resorted to, okay, we're taking out Joker, lethal means. He's had a Joker war and a Fear State in the time that Brian's been organizing this. So,
Yeah, so whatever, but but yeah, so I mean, I like the final issue. I like the crossover overall. There were maybe one or two issues because I think overall this was like 7 regular issues plus the Alpha and Omega at the start and end.
That's 9. That's about standard anymore.
Yeah, I will say there's maybe a couple in the middle that felt like, okay, there's maybe one or two too many here, so some of them are a little stretched. But
I did like though that because he was writing all of it, like the Batman issue felt like an issue of Batman, and same with Deathstroke Inc. and same with Robin. Is like it just didn't feel like these were all just chapter of Shadow War. It was the Robin chapter of Shadow War, and then the Alpha and Omega felt like the ones that were, fully formed together. So credit to Williamson for pulling all that off.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only shame is that I do think it peaked with its very first issue. I think that first issue with the assassination of Ra's al Ghul was the high point of the whole thing.
By the coward Brian of Markovia.
But I do think the Geoforce reveal was a lot of fun and probably the second high point. So
I mean, that was my personal high point, but just because I've been wondering where the hell that guy is, and so for him to pop up in that way, I thought was really cool. Just him, shredding the Deathstroke uniform to have the Geoforce uniform on underneath is just comic book in the best way. So yeah, that was my high point.
Yeah. All right. What are you giving Shadow War Omega issue?
I mean, it's 7.5.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I could maybe go to an 8. I do kind of like the final beats that it's playing with Damien. Kind of like it does feel like he's grown since the start of Robin issue 1, and this is paying off a lot of that stuff. So I do wonder if this inherently, if you weren't reading Robin and you just jumped into the crossover because you were reading Batman or because you were reading Deathstroke Inc., if it would have the same kind of weight to it. I think Robin being the heart of this works because if you've been reading the Robin series.
Yeah.
But I think I'll agree with the 7.5. But it's borderline, nudging up. Borderline.